All right, welcome back, Gap Nation. Marty Emno coming to you again from my home office, as Tony and Dan are the assistant communication directors in Gap. We got a special Zoom here today. We're going to talk with three people on the ground trying to keep the golf course green during this interesting and difficult time. So we got Greg D'Antonio from Concord. He's been there for 10 years. He's the superintendent. Greg, give a little wave there. We got Alan Fitzgerald. He's been at LedgeRock. He's been there, is that 17 years, Alan? Is that correct?
Yep, just starting it.
Okay. So you from the beginning?
Yep, from the get-go. Started
from the beginning.
The golf course.
And we have John Urbanski. Sorry, John. He's in his second season as the director of golf courses and grounds at Wilmington Country Club, to which we're supposed to get to there this year. I believe for the senior amateur. Hopefully that stays on track. And before that, he was 14 years at Bittaman. So guys, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. I guess we'll start with you, Greg. How are you doing during these difficult times down there at Concord?
We're doing well. We are reduced staff slightly, but at the same time, we are not maintaining for daily play right now, not changing pins, not rolling greens, not breaking bunkers, which, ironically, we spend more time on each week than we do mowing greens. We're in a little bit of a unique situation here where we just finished up the second phase of our renovation project. We were able to get that done on time and on schedule in spite of everything that's kind of happened. And now we're just kind of moving forward in the maintenance mode and seeing what happens next.
Alan, how are you doing up there at LedgeRock?
Pretty much the same as Greg. I mean, the one good thing out here is we're usually a couple of weeks weather-wise behind, Greg and John in Philly, the Philly market. So, we are generally a little slower to get started, so we're not much farther behind where we'd normally be. But yeah, other than that, same thing. We haven't really started even mowing out here yet. So a lot of just spring cleanup and stuff just kind of got pushed aside a little bit. But the same thing as Greg, we're in the process of finishing up a project that we started a couple of months ago, getting that squared away, and the growth is starting. So the next week or two will be the big change for us to see how the limited crew and stuff works with everything. But so far it's not been too crazy.
And John, you're down there in Wilmington. Delaware is allowing individuals to play golf, obviously with restrictions and all kinds of under requirements and social distancing, et cetera. So you do have golfers on the golf course. How have you? Probably not as many as you would normally have, but how is the maintenance for you going on down there, and can you get stuff done around it and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we haven't had a hiccup in terms of play. Actually, we had a really big uptick of play when everyone started to kind of work from home in March. It wasn't until recently with the 10th modification that Governor Carney came out with that basically took away all rental capacity, so we can't rent golf carts or push carts. So we've gone walking only. As Alan mentioned, the grass is just starting to grow, and we've been fortunate. It's been cooler weather, so the grass really hasn't jumped out of the ground. But we do have some very nice forecasted days coming up here, starting Sunday. So I think things are really starting to make a turn for the better. Again, play's been up. We're fortunate, 36-hole facility, so we can. What we're doing right now is that we're having play on one golf course, while our maintenance staff works on the other golf course that's closed. So we pretty much can prep one course for the next day's play. Weekends, we have both golf courses open. And I think one of the other differences it's from our normal operations is that everyone's on tee times right now. So it's secure tee times for themselves. But it's gone well. The social distancing has worked well. Even when we had golf carts, we put in, policies for the club that one member per cart. So all that was received very well, and it's great to see people out playing golf and enjoying the outdoors and all. So,
are you fully staffed, John, or are you still ramping up?
No, we've had to reduce our staff when all this hit. Just like every other club, this is going to impact our income. Any type of spring outings that clubs may have had they've either been postponed or canceled altogether. So this kind of harkens back to 2008 when the recession hit, and we've all had to tighten our belt loops a little bit. And this is no different from that. But hopefully, as restrictions start to ease here, kind of the 1 month from yesterday is kind of our target date with the state, and I think it's great that Governor Carney and all the other governors here in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, they've all gotten together and formed this coalition. So hopefully, these states will go ahead and start to enact some policies, and it's not going to be, hey, we're going to turn the light switch on and it's going to be full go. I think we'll see these restrictions ease as they were implemented too. So, but when that occurs, the weather's going to be really nice, and I think everyone, particularly in states where they're not playing golf right now or tennis, I think people are just going to be running out the door to go take up those activities.
Absolutely. I can show you a fair amount of emails that say just that. As you guys can imagine. So I'll throw this one out to Greg and Alan, and then Tony and Dan will hop in here. So, for you guys, Alan and Greg, how do you guys keep the golf course in top condition without any definitive deadline to when play will come back? It seems like everybody, to John's point, when they come back, they're going to want to play golf and they expect everything to be perfect. But I'm guessing that's not going to be possible, is it?
I think each course is going to be different. I mean, I think the biggest thing that to strive for and to make sure you're doing is communicating to both your board and your membership or your owner or whoever, if your daily fee. Specifically for our course, I mean, we're maintaining it as it's open other than the greens. We moved our aeration up a little bit and condensed it, did a little bit more aggressive, knowing that probably once we do open, we're going to be more crowded, and, from a revenue perspective, we're not going to want to close down aeration. But as I mentioned before, we're not maintaining bunkers, but we are maintaining them enough where they'll be ready for play hopefully shortly thereafter. So our hope is, and our target's always been sometime in May, and that's what we've been shooting for. So we hope to stay on that schedule with the state.
Alan, how about you?
I think for us, everyone's going to be different. Right now, the schedule we're on, like I said earlier, weather-wise, we're probably a little behind, not much behind Greg and John, but we're not far off a regular target with the gap matches set up this spring. We actually aerated. We were scheduled to aerate early with the mild weather. That helped us a lot to get aeration done, so we're done and dusted. So from next week on, it'll just be primarily maintenance from here on, just mowing grass and keeping things in check. So, tees, fairways, roughs, they won't be mowed at the frequency, so that maybe, on any given day it may not be as tight as it normally is, but it's not going to affect play and getting it ready for when golf starts back. Bunkers, we're going to maintain them at a lesser rate, but we're probably breaking once a week fully, fixing any washouts or anything like that happens. Again, just to help prevent weeds or anything like that occurring from lack of maintenance. The greens right now are my biggest kind of moving target right now. Like Greg said, we're obviously not rolling and doing any of that. They're not really growing yet. If we're back playing here in the next month, it really won't make much of a difference going into the season. But depending on staffing levels and whatnot, when we get into, say, June time frame, the greens may be a little slower for the summer, just maybe not quite where they'd normally be. And then come the fall, we can ramp them back up again to normal. So it's right now, I'm not seeing a huge shift getting everything back. There may be a few little things like detail work not taken care of when play gets back out, but I think the main playing surfaces should be in pretty decent condition overall.
This is a time where normally golf is in full swing, no pun intended. I mean, it's April, spring's coming. Golfers are returning to the course as the weather is becoming nicer. So the activity typically is ramped up during this month. What's it like for each of you to come to the club to work each day, essentially without members or fellow staff members in the clubhouse? Now, John, I know it's a different situation for you given Delaware's differences, but Greg and Alan, what's a typical day like for you under these conditions at the club?
It's a little different. You know, we traditionally are always out of the gate early to try and stay in front of play. And it's a little bit of a mindset adjustment that you don't have to do that. And, you know, we don't always do things at the proper time. We do them at the most convenient time for the members. So this allows us to kind of reevaluate that. You know, mow later in the day if we need to. When it's drier, you get a better quality of cut. Take a little bit more time to get organized. And yeah, when you're out there, it's different. I mean, it's quiet, it's lonely, it's interesting for sure.
Pretty much the same as Greg. I can't really add a whole lot to that. I mean, it's funny. I never thought we'd miss golfers out there, but it is a little odd not seeing people out there. I guess the only other big thing is just a shift in the morning schedules. You know, we've to work around the restrictions and social distancing, and in case someone gets sick or something, we have the staff, you know, broke into little different teams. So it's just coordinating jobs and stuff like that for us has been the biggest challenge, just on kind of the maintenance side. But, you know, it is kind of odd not seeing people out here. But again, you know, we're at the time of the year where we're not crazy busy here at LedgeRock. So it's you know, in 2 or 3 weeks time, I think will be the biggest, you know, difference and change when we see people around or not. Definitely feel different then, more different.
I know all three of you have already mentioned the good weather so far this season and this off season. Pretty mild winter, not a lot of snow. Has that made this current situation easier? What do you guys say?
For us, it has, because we never really got behind in the winter. We weren't off the course because of snow for an extended period of time. So, you know, in a lot of years, you're doing a lot of spring cleanup and debris down and stuff like that. We were able to keep up on it for the winter. So yeah, for us, it's allowed us, we got a lot more done in the winter that kind of shortened the list of to-dos in the spring, where I feel like even with the reduced staff, we're still on schedule where we need to be.
Yeah, I'm the same way. You know, the early aeration this spring too was great, just getting it done early. And spring cleanup was done in March, where normally we'd be scrambling to try and get it done, you know, early April when the staff started back. So pretty much the same thing. It really helped out. It's a little upsetting that we don't have golf here to get to enjoy it, golfers, but it is, at least it's taking the blow out of not having a full team here right now. It's definitely taking the sting out of that for us too.
Yeah, I think we were in the same boat. Sorry, Tony. You know, we were able to work outside pretty much every day this winter and get a lot done, in which other aspects didn't get done. Some of this, you know, repainting of ball washers and benches and all that, the amenities, the course amenities. And I know we kind of put a halt to that, particularly because those are all touch points. So we just said, it's not going to go on the golf course anyway at this point in time. Let's just focus on some other activities. So, yeah, we feel comfortable. I think the only thing that we've pushed off thus far is our north course aerification, our full scale aerification. So we won't pop our tees and our fairways. We're going to do a little bit of work on our north greens next week, but I feel very confident that it won't cause any type of hiccups down the road at all. So, but yeah, we're still able to maintain in a really positive manner.
So typically, just hopping in here for a second, Tone, you know, typically golf courses do their, you know, fall aeration, you know, I guess what, late August, September-ish?
Everybody's
different. Yeah, I mean, do you guys see that? Do you think you'll do a fall aeration? Is that like a necessary requirement to keep the golf course healthy and happy? Or with the plans that you're probably going to have way more play then than you ever expected, would that be something that you would skip?
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we try to be more aggressive now, knowing that the realistic chance of doing it later is probably not there, as we try and maximize our revenue. It's not to say that after the golf season and, you know, late October, we don't do something, but our intention is to not do anything the rest of the year other than, you know, allowing them to breathe with some small tines and venting them. But I would imagine everybody's different.
Yeah, for us, we haven't discussed it. It has crossed my mind. I haven't discussed it at the club. We kind of want to see when we get back playing golf and then from there, we'll adjust it. You know, if we get back in the next few weeks, like I said, we're going to be on our normal schedule. So I would plan on hopefully trying to, you know, if we get fully green speed everything through the season, you know, the heat of the summer, we'll want to do it in the fall. You know, provided, you know, if we're into June, July, we're getting back playing golf at that stage. You know, the greens, the way we're maintaining it, won't be as under stress. So I think, you know, we can probably get through those 2 months, maybe with lesser speed, and we can push it off in the fall. So right now for us here, we're just going to wait to see when we're back and the course is open again, and then we'll readdress it at that time. You know, it is going to be a sensitive thing if, you know, being shut down right now and losing, you know, 3-4 weeks right here, and losing, you know, a week or two in the fall again. But for the turf health into the fall, if we need it, we'll do it. We're just going to wait and see what happens.
John,
we
I guess
know.
that's a
We
little-
know.
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say, I guess it's a little easier for you with 2 golf courses, right?
It is. I mean, not to brag or anything, but we won't do our major aeration until mid-October and November again. So, like kind of what Greg mentioned, we'll do whatever type of needle tining that we need to do on greens just to let them breathe a little bit. But you know, for the same cause, I mean, we're not mowing a lot right now. I mean, maybe our greens are getting mowed maybe twice a week. You know, we're doing a lot more rolling than we are. And likewise for tees and fairways, they're kind of on the same frequency, but on the same regard, you know, what we talked about, you're just not going to turn on a light switch. So you got to continue with some other practices such as light top dressing and things like that. We're a little different because we're open, and, you know, our greens are getting ball marks and things like that, where these guys can, Greg and Alan can really probably come out of this on the other side with almost, do I dare say, perfect looking greens when you guys open back.
You're raising the bar there.
Yeah,
right.
Well, those 2 guys are very good superintendents. I'm sure they're very capable of doing that. So.
One thing just to add to that too is, you know, a lot of clubs are right now trying to reschedule as many outings as possible. So it's going to be pretty compact with not only member play, is probably people are going to stay closer to home and maybe not do as much vacationing, but also trying to get as many outings in as possible to capture as much revenue as we can.
As well as member events, I'm sure. You know, there are member events that have been lost and that are going to be rescheduled.
Just one more for me, if I may here, guys, and you guys touched on it briefly in some of your comments earlier, each of you. If you each can touch on what staffing challenges or adjustments you've had to make given personnel restrictions and limitations, starting with Greg.
Yeah, well, first, I mean, everyone is here voluntarily. I mean, they are getting paid, but we're not forcing anyone. If they don't feel safe working here, then, you know, they were able to collect unemployment. We have reduced guys this year, but as I said, you know, we're not doing as many day-to-day maintenance practices. And then just, you know, keeping these guys safe as well. And as John said, everyone riding in their own cart, splitting lunches, splitting breaks, making sure we're really disinfecting and sanitizing all the equipment daily. And, you know, because we have an obligation to keep our employees safe as well as our members. So that's really been the big keys for us.
Yes, we're similar here. We have same thing. You know, generally the guys are here. The timing kind of worked out pretty good for us. That was right when we'd normally bring the team back from the winter. So most of them just stayed on layoff. So brought a couple extra guys back just to help with mowing and whatnot over the full-time staff. We're just going to wait to see once the mowing starts here if we might need 1 or 2 more. A couple of guys are itching to get out of the house, I think. So
Yeah, sure.
There, again, a few phone calls, a few others that are calling saying, how long do you think this will last? So right now, you know, we think we have enough guys here to handle everything. We're just going to, again, adjust as the bar changes and moves. And, you know, I think getting restarted back up shouldn't be too much of an issue. Like I said, I think that's most guys want just to get out of the house and get back to work. But yeah, right now it's just more the scheduling thing and just making sure everyone's where they're supposed to be or not supposed to be on top of each other and whatnot. And, other than that, it hasn't been too crazy yet. But you know, the good part is too, we're working with about 1/3 less staff to position to move around, which is also a help because it's best to keep an eye on and make sure that people are social distancing and doing what they need to do.
John, I'm sure it's a little different for you since the courses are still open, staffing wise.
Staffing wise, no, we're well off to where we should be at this point in time. You know, just to kind of just give a number, we're including myself, there's 21 of us here, and we should be well north of that by now. You know, but we're not. One of the positives out of all of this, I think, which will teach, you know, a lot of facilities out there is, you know, we always preach about being efficient, and this really is a time for us to kind of look inward at our own operations and how we can be more efficient and how we can do more with less. And does that mean we become more mechanized in what we're doing? You know, normally, I think Greg and Alan are probably of the same operational capacities. You know, we're used to hand mowing greens and tees and doing a lot of manual labor. And, you know, if this continues, you really have to look at the aspects where you can get mechanized. And that for us is, you know, triplexing greens, triplexing tees, ride-on mowers, if you will, and just having far less manual labor. So, you know, I think it is a positive to look at your operations and continue to look at your operations and see how you can shape that in a positive light for your employers, for your club, for your facility. So it would be, trust me, I would love to have everyone back right now and be just normal. But I think all our lives are probably a little different going forward. Even when they say, hey, it's okay to bring people back. I mean, we're still going to be operating and having everyone with their own golf cart and, you know, meeting out in the parking lot as opposed to in your break rooms. So, you know, our sense of normalcy has changed from this point going forward. So, we're all adapting in one form or fashion, and maintenance has to adapt as well. I mean, I've talked about that a lot with my peers about, you know, how we can mechanize our operations more efficiently than what we're doing now.
Stemming off the positive spin there from John, which everyone needs right now. This is a question for Greg and Alan. What are the positives of your golf course being closed right now? Is it a much needed refresh? Is it breathing some health back into the course? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, specifically because of the mild winter, I mean, we did have a good amount of winter play, and you know, the grass is not growing in the winter. And so the ball marks, the divots, for us, you know, we're probably 90% carts. The carts were out there all winter. I mean, it was tired. So I guess we closed March 15th, or about a month now. So it's given it a little bit of a breather of the beating from the carts and play. And although things aren't really growing, the divots are starting to recover. You know, as well as it's given us that time for some detail work that we may not get to because we're not doing as many of those daily maintenance tasks. And then finally, from a staffing standpoint, you know, we as an industry have struggled for a long time now to attract and retain labor. And this may, you know, swing the pendulum a little bit as the unemployment rate goes up. And, you know, while we may not have the available budget dollars for the labor, I think there may be, it may be a little bit more easy to find and attract people to work for us.
Yeah, for us too, I think the spring here was just, you know, it hasn't really bothered us too much getting stuff ready. We started a project on 17 in late February, early March. Luckily, that's almost, you know, with the sod farm still being open and suppliers still being open, we're able to do what we can do to get that finished. But other than that, there's really not much change for us. We're just going to wait out and see what happens here.
If we do get the all clear for, you know, for everybody within this region, as John mentioned before, you know, the region's really talking, all the governors are kind of trying to get on the same wavelength, I would think, with that plan. You know, how long does it take to get fully ramped up for you guys? Could you do it in a week? Could you do it in a day? I mean, like how How quickly can you be at top speed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to vary course to course on how much, each course is throttled back here during the shutdown. As I started, I mean, our goal is to be ready to rock May 1st. And any day that we're not open after that, we'll just act as we are and hope that it's not far behind when we are open if it's not May 1st.
I don't see much difference here either. I mean, we're going to maintain it whatever we can as close to normal within the restrictions. Ramping up really won't be much different. Like I said earlier, and maybe the greens, depending later in the summer for triplexing or maybe mowing at a higher height of cut, just take some stress off and limit what we have to do to them. Maybe a little bit slower to get them back fully up to speed, but everything else will just be, if we're mowing fairways twice a week and going to 3 days a week or whatever it is. It's just that tightness will just be, it's just a frequency thing. So it really, the ramp up is just getting the staff back and getting them going right away. And if once they get back, I think to step up, within a week, things should be close to normal. We may be missing some detail work here and there, but that'll catch up to in a couple of weeks, like weed whacking or something. There's lots of events like that.
Yeah, I agree. It won't take long. It's, the center lines will always remain, nice and tidy, if you will, tee, fairway, green. It's all the ancillary areas that you don't have the resources right now to go after. And it's the areas around the clubhouse. It's all the mowable areas around the rackets facilities and things of that nature. So, and any other detail work that you're normally accustomed to doing in season, the divots on fairways and divots on tees, things like that, the edging of irrigation sprinklers and yardage plaques. I mean, all that, the things that really kind of make your club stand out, if you will. Those are the things that are going to lack here over the short term, and hopefully, that will get back to normal operations once the states kind of open up again. So, but I think if you have a center line mentality, we'll be able to keep the ship on course for a good while. So, hopefully Mother Nature is kind to us and doesn't get too hot and humid and wet and, some crazy stuff thrown our way.
It's been a pretty smooth 2020, so I can't imagine that would happen, John. So are you guys hopping on mowers? Are you guys kind of back to grinding it out back to the beginning days before you became in charge? You guys hopping on mowers, weed whacking, doing all that jazz?
As needed, for sure.
Yeah.
I call it therapy.
Getting back to your roots, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to just hop on a mower some days and just say, challenge yourself. Can I still mow a straight line possibly? So.
Great. Tony, you're good? Dan, anything?
I'm good. If you have any excess sod or fertilizer or mulch, just let me know. I have some barren patches in my backyard, and mulch is running dry out front, so I'm happy to pick it up.
If you go visit John, they'll get arrested at the border, so we won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I can't go get it from John in Delaware. I can't.
Well, guys, we really appreciate your time today. Thanks for taking a few minutes to hop on the Zoom with us, give your members and all members of GAP an idea of what it's like to keep the grass green in these trying times. So Greg, Alan, John, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you on the golf course soon enough. For Dan, Tony, and Marty, this is signing out from the GAP Zoom account. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.